the sports car of the luxury saloon segment, a title that the Porsche Panamera has enjoyed since it launched back in 2009. 7 years and over 150,000 units later, Porsche is reimagining the concept of the Gran Turismo once again, with new engines, a new chassis, a futuristic display and control concept, and a highly emotive design that draws greater parallels with the iconic 911 sports car. More than ever before, the new Panamera is bringing together two opposing characteristics: the performance of a sports car and the comfort of a luxury saloon. It is this symbiosis that makes the Panamera. The second generation is a completely new development.
In my opinion, the successor vehicle in the Panamera line is characterized by three columns, three directions that guided our development. Firstly, a clearly reworked design that picks up on the Porsche design language to great effect, while also looking to the future. Secondly, performance, where the brand promise of the vehicle positions it as the sportiest vehicle in the luxury segment. And thirdly, comfort. We've taken a significant step forward with the Panamera successor model, both in terms of rolling comfort and ride comfort, and in terms of redefining comfort for the occupants in the interior. We promise to offer the sportiest vehicle in the segment. In delivering on our promise, the most important factor for us isn't absolute performance, but rather the weight-to-power ratio of the vehicle. And since we've been able to achieve significant weight savings with the body, we're able to fulfill our claim of delivering best-in-class performance, with relatively moderate performance improvements of 20 to 40 horsepower, depending on the engine, and have still been able to reduce fuel consumption by an average of 15%, despite the increase in power.
The current Porsche 911 was the inspiration behind the design language of the new Panamera. The vehicle has an even more dynamic flyline and even borrows some specific design elements from the iconic sports car, such as the distinctive arches and the three-dimensional taillights. When it comes to the interior, however, the Panamera sets completely new standards in terms of design.
Anyone who has ever driven a Panamera immediately understands what we're talking about when we say this is the sports car of its segment. The challenge as a designer, of course, is to visualize this precisely, which brings us back to the proportions of the vehicle, ensuring the vehicle is the lowest and widest vehicle in its class. Small details like the arches above the rear wheels and the way the cabin tapers towards the rear. All of these features are also design elements that are familiar from classic sports car designs that have been applied to this vehicle. Despite the size of the vehicle, the visual message is clear. I'm the sports car of my segment. Looking at the rear of the new Panamera, of course, the idea of a distinctive character comes to mind, and in turn fully emphasizes the idea of width and a visually reduced height. For details such as the taillights, we pursued a very specific philosophy, an approach we initially adopted with the Macan. We made it clear, we want the taillight to be three-dimensional. In other words, to reflect a real architecture, but combined with the idea of the two taillights merging with one another on the outside. The same applies to the Porsche logo. As we've always said, we want to give it a real home with a three-dimensional character. The key aspect here is how it appears at night, when so many vehicles generally lose their brand identity. In our case, however, it is immediately apparent. If I'm driving behind a car at night, I will immediately recognize that it's a Porsche. An important feature of the interior that again emphasizes the width is the visually streamlined instrument panel. For me personally, the real highlight of this vehicle is the widescreen that is fully integrated into the surface. To enable the screen to be integrated, the air vents, which are normally positioned on the right and left and give you the feeling that the screen is crammed in, have now been shifted down. The vents are also closed when not in use, a further technical highlight. These are all elements where I can say that we as designers had a great deal of freedom to implement an extremely attractive design.
A Porsche needs to be fast, dynamic and of course efficient. In the Panamera, all three new engines meet these precise requirements. In the top model, the Panamera Turbo, a 4-litre V8 petrol engine delivers 550 horsepower. The second petrol engine in the portfolio is fitted in the Panamera 4S, a 2.9-litre V6 delivering 440 horsepower. In terms of diesel engines, the new Panamera 4S diesel, available for the first time, impresses with an 8-cylinder engine with 4-litre displacement, delivering 422 horsepower with 850 Newton-meters of torque. All-wheel drive also comes as standard with all three models, as does the Porsche PDK double-clutch transmission, now with 8 stages.
This is the new 4.0-litre biturbo engine for the Panamera Turbo. In terms of efficiency and consumption, with this engine we've implemented a cylinder shut-off function, primarily to reduce fuel consumption in the partial load range. We've also reduced the swept volume from 4.8 to 4.0 litres of displacement. What's more, we've systematically overhauled all friction parameters and friction points, enabling us to minimize friction loss in the unit. At the start, we considered various ways of designing the entire cylinder barrel concept, so as to optimize tribology, power, wear and oil consumption, and ultimately found a new way to implement our cylinder barrel with a new innovative iron coating. This is a process that we developed in parallel to the product, but it is not in use in the new Panamera. We will then introduce a 6-cylinder engine from the range of petrol engines in the Panamera. This engine will be used in the S models. In terms of basic concept, this engine is largely similar to the 8-cylinder engine. In other words, a turbocharged engine in which the exhaust gas turbo technology is housed in the front of the engine and brings together a number of character traits from the 8-cylinder engine.
The transmission of the new Panamera is a completely new development. An 8-speed Porsche double-clutch transmission. One new feature of the transmission is the significantly reduced friction loss, which makes the transmission more efficient. The spread has also increased compared to the previous transmission.
When it comes to the chassis, the developers have truly excelled themselves, delivering an even greater spread between performance and comfort.
In terms of innovations in the new Panamera, the chassis is certainly one of the highlights. It's a completely new development. New features include the electric steering and 3-chamber air suspension, with 70% enlarged air spring volume, which delivers significantly enhanced ride comfort, but with 3 spring settings to allow the high level of performance promised by Porsche.
What we can see here is the front axle of the new Panamera. One special highlight of the axle is the completely redeveloped 3-chamber air suspension. This is a suspension system with 3 air chambers that offer highly dynamic switching options, allowing us not only to make damper adjustments, but also to switch the spring rate in a highly dynamic fashion. With this system, we can respond to driving conditions with a high level of dynamism, a fact that significantly increases driving safety, driving dynamics, as well as the steering precision and sportiness offered by the vehicle. The new air suspension in the Panamera enables us to significantly improve the spread between driving dynamics and comfort. Depending on the driving situation, we can very quickly activate and deactivate the air chambers, thereby changing the spring rate within a few milliseconds in a manner that goes completely unnoticed by the driver, delivering a drive that is characterized by both safety and superiority. The steering system in the new Panamera is an electromechanical system that allows us to provide an even more energy-efficient form of steering assistance. One feature that characterizes the typical Porsche steering feel is the direct feedback drivers receive about the driving situation from the condition of the road. It delivers a sense of superiority and safety. Combined with the rear axle steering, you can very quickly change lanes with optimal stability. At the same time, it delivers agility at low speeds. The car almost feels like a small compact car that is agile and easy to handle. We provide our colleagues working on the chassis, the engineering world champions, with an electronic platform that is highly efficient, a powerful EFP or computing system on which various electrical systems are implemented. For example, the electrical roll stabilization system, and the damper systems, and air suspension systems. Essentially, these are the key elements that make a Porsche. And because they are electronic and are powered by our own software, it gives us a good base to implement the spread that defines a Porsche in terms of comfort tuning and sporty tuning. Ensuring driving pleasure is the primary goal of our applications in this vehicle.
The Nürburgring Nordschleife is known worldwide as the benchmark for testing driving dynamics, and it's also where Porsche demonstrated what the new Panamera can deliver in terms of performance in impressive style.
There's nothing as legendary as this. There is no racetrack in the world as long. We drive up here with road tires, even under timed conditions. We drive completely standard production cars. I think this shows just how convinced we are by our product. When the guys looked at their measuring instruments, they were cheering. That's how I knew I'd done it. In 7 minutes 38. Phenomenal.
An impressive time that shows what this vehicle can do in terms of performance. Porsche has implemented a futuristic vision for the display and control concept of the new Panamera. The Porsche Advanced Cockpit contains far fewer conventional buttons and instruments, and instead offers more in the way of freely configurable LED screens and smartphone-style touch interfaces. The cockpit of the future at Porsche is making its debut in the new Panamera.
The latest Porsche is always the best. That's something we try to reflect in the electronics. There is a whole host of new features that can only be implemented today using modern electronics.
Our remit was to pick up on the proven aspects of the Porsche control concept, including the interior. In other words, to continue with direct operation for driving functions that are elemental to a Porsche, and to use this as the basis for new potential options.
We have further refined our system. You will still find a button here and there, but it is no longer the case that all buttons are found in the center console, although the most important ones are located there. We've removed 40% of the buttons from the center console and transferred these functions to a menu on the large screen above the center console, where these functions can now be accessed. Of course, supplemented with options for controlling the new functions. The instrument cluster features two 7-inch displays coupled with the traditional mechanical rev speed indicator in the center. The displays are split into topics. On the left-hand side, for example, are the assistance features. On the right-hand side are the features providing information about the car, and in the center, power-related information. This approach ensures there is a clear display and control philosophy, including in the line of sight. And in the center console, I can adjust settings, strictly managed by an HMI concept, with a hierarchy of important functions, optional functions, through to set functions that you only ever need to set once during the journey. The familiar control gestures from today with rotating and swiping are all incorporated into the display, and the area below, where the traditional buttons used to be, has also been developed. Buttons are no longer purely mechanical, but rather capacitive, housed in a glass effect black panel, giving a modern feeling but delivering the same function as conventional buttons and switches.
The assistance systems that support the driver and increase safety play an important role in the new Panamera. Porsche has even developed one innovative system itself.
With the successor model in the Panamera line, we have taken a major step forward in terms of assistance systems, delivering state-of-the-art technology in the luxury segment. However, the Panamera is still a car for drivers. In other words, we support the driver, but don't wear him out. In terms of assistance systems, one thing is certainly worth highlighting. A Porsche development called the ACC InnoDrive. This is steering control or automatic cruise control that analyzes route data such as bends and topology and interprets traffic information. It then intelligently uses this information to achieve additional consumption savings and allow more fluid and predictive driving within a flow of traffic.
With smartphones and tablets, you are online wherever you go these days, and the same is true with the new Panamera.
It's a truly modern car with a whole host of features. We've integrated colourful services, in other words, in-car services that the driver can use to gain additional information. As you would expect, real-time traffic information with truly up-to-date minute information to allow optimum route planning. Drivers can also check weather information, connect their iPhone directly to the vehicle and transfer apps from their iPhone. We also offer our own apps for managing vehicles remotely that enable drivers to call up information from the vehicle. We have Google Earth, 3D displays, and we've implemented the control philosophy from today's modern world.
Yes, it's certainly raised the bar set by its predecessor. However, we wouldn't be Porsche if we didn't always try to improve. We analyzed the vehicle again very precisely and upped the ante in many areas. Enhancements and developments from our other vehicles also helped us in this regard. We also transferred elements from the field of motorsport and our other two-door sports cars and applied them to this car. Our objectives for the new Panamera were simple. We said to ourselves, in terms of quality aspects, we want to put the best car on the road out of all our competitors.